Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here, just for you, exploring some source material you brought to us.
That's right. And today, we're diving pretty deep into a source that tackles a huge topic, chronic and mystery illnesses. It offers a very distinct view on their true causes.
And it suggests a specific path to healing, too, right? Through cleansing.
Exactly. Cleansing is central.
And this isn't like a mainstream source, is it? It sounds like it challenges a lot of conventional thinking.
Oh, absolutely. It goes against not just conventional medicine, but many common alternative health views as well. It's actually described, right within the material, as offering insights like medicine straight from the source. Some even call them prophecies.
Wow, okay. And there are some pretty big endorsements mentioned.
Yeah, really striking ones. We're talking like a 3-time Olympic gold medalist calling it medicine straight from the source. A major record label CEO says the author is a magician, that the books far surpass thriller and are the future of medicine.
Surpass thriller.
I know, right? And there are stories cited of people spending, fortunes elsewhere before finding help through this approach. Another medium even compares the author to Edgar Cayce.
Okay, so that definitely sets the stage. Let's unpack this. Our mission, as always, is to extract the most important information for you from this specific material.
Right. The core ideas, those really surprising claims that might make you rethink things, and importantly, the actual steps the source proposes for healing.
And it's framed as being for the underdogs, isn't it? For people really struggling trying to heal.
Exactly. With this message running through it, you deserve to trust yourself again.
So let's start with the problem it identifies, this epidemic of mystery illness.
Yeah, the source points out millions are affected, people struggling with symptoms, conditions that conventional medicine and often alternative paths too haven't fully explained or, healed.
And here's where it gets really sensitive, I think. The source highlights how when science doesn't have clear answers, like cause unknown or the autoimmune theory.
The person who's sick often ends up feeling blamed.
Right. Yeah. Feeling like it's somehow your fault. Maybe you're lazy or you don't have the right energy or you're not thinking positively enough.
Or, and this is a big one, the idea that your own body is failing you or even attacking itself. That's the whole autoimmune concept it critiques.
The source calls that body shaming.
It does, directly, a form of body shaming. But then it offers this counterclaim, a real pivot.
Which is?
That these health challenges aren't really about some internal flaw, being faulty or less than. Instead, the source argues it's about outside circumstances, things like inherited poisons and pathogens. It talks about a generations-long backstory to our health.
So the message is, if you've ever felt blamed or wondered where you went wrong.
According to this source, you didn't. It wasn't your fault.
Okay, so if it's not our fault, what does this source claim are the true causes?
Well, the source posits they're often unseen, and critically, it says they're undocumented by researchers yet.
Undocumented, so what are they pointing to?
Specifically, 2 main things. Chronic infections, mostly viruses, and chemical exposures, like heavy metals.
Okay, let's break those down. The toxic troublemakers. Heavy metals first.
Right. So the list includes mercury, aluminum, copper, lead, nickel, cadmium, arsenic. The usual suspects, maybe.
Yeah.
But the source claims they accumulate over a lifetime. And here's a kicker. They can be passed down through generations.
Inherited metals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find them, air, water, food, cosmetics.
Yeah.
But also some surprising places mentioned, like airport security scanners.
Airport scanners? Really? How?
So the claim in the source is that radiation from those scanners actually stays on carry-on bags for years, even centuries.
Centuries. So what do they suggest?
The recommendation in the source is to consider discarding carry-on bags every 3 trips or so.
Okay, that's specific. And these metals are linked to a lot of conditions.
A huge range, according to the source. Anxiety, depression, bipolar, confusion, tics, spasms, brain fog, ADHD, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism. Also skin issues like eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, vitiligo, and even Crohn's.
And it calls out fish oil supplements. That seems counterintuitive.
Right. Very counter to common advice. The source claims they contain trace mercury that doesn't just sit there, it actually feeds viruses. That's the specific claim.
Okay. What about other chemical?
Huge category. Solvents, petrochemicals, detergents, cleaning supplies, air fresheners, scented candles, perfumes, colognes.
The everyday stuff.
Yeah. And the source says these get embedded in organs, wreak havoc for years. It even singles out gasoline fumes for breaking down the immune system, weakening nerve cells, and fungicides it claims they're hidden everywhere.
Like where?
Paper money, clothing, furniture, cardboard boxes, car interiors, even the outside of water bottles, dry cleaning. It's a long list.
And radiation is mentioned too, beyond the scanners.
Yes. Airplane travel itself, cell phones, tech devices, atmospheric fallout from, past nuclear issues, plus medical scans, CTs, MRIs, PETs, X-rays.
And plastics, how do they fit in?
The source claims we're constantly inhaling, eating, drinking microplastics, even tiny runoff from saliva or skin oil touching plastic. It adds up. And the key claim is they don't leave the body easily, especially with modern diets hindering detox, according to this perspective.
Okay, so that's the toxin side. What about the pathogens the source identifies?
Right, the other major pillar. The source makes a really bold claim. Low-grade viral infections are way more common and impactful than we realize.
Like which ones?
It lists tons of strains, over 60 kinds of Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, over 30 types of shingles, cytomegalovirus, HHV6, HHV7. It even mentions undiscovered ones it calls HHV10 through 16, plus herpes simplex 1 and 2.
And where do these supposedly hang out in the body?
Deep in organs, the source says, especially the liver. And the claim is these viruses create neurotoxins.
Neurotoxins, leading to what?
Things like nerve inflammation, pain, fatigue, what the source calls viral burnout. And it argues these specific viruses, EBV, shingles, HHV6, 7, HSV, CMV, are the real cause behind many conditions we label autoimmune.
Like Lyme, MS.
Yeah, Lyme, MS, reproductive cyst, joint pain, neurological symptoms. The source attributes these largely to these viruses.
And then there's that claim about eggs.
Yes, very specific. The source explicitly states that eggs feed these viruses, including, it claims, the viruses responsible for almost all cancers.
Wow. Okay, that's a major departure from common dietary advice. Are there other pathogens mentioned?
Yep, bacteria and other microbes. Over 50 groups of streptococcus linked to strep throat, styes, PID, prostatitis, IDS. Also C. diff, E. coli, MRSA, mold, parasites, salmonella, staph, and foodborne toxins, where it claims the dead microbodies remain toxic even after cooking.
Okay, but then in contrast to eggs, it mentions potatoes as helpful.
Exactly, flipping things completely. The source claims steamed potatoes don't feed pathogens. Instead, it argues they actually bind onto bacteria colonies, strep, E. coli, staph, fungi, and help carry them out of the body.
So the humble potato gets a promotion here.
A major one in this view.
So with these true causes, laid out the toxins and pathogens, the source then critiques a lot of current health advice, right?
Yeah.
Explaining why this view isn't mainstream.
Precisely. It takes aim at several common beliefs and practices.
Okay, like what? What's first?
Well, it pushes back hard on blaming things like a slow metabolism or hormones.
Which happens a lot, especially for weight issues or fatigue.
Right. The source argues that these often take the blame instead of what it sees as the real issue. A sluggish liver, bogged down by years of high-fat diets, and it specifically calls out blaming hormones as another form of body shaming, particularly aimed at women.
Interesting. What about the microbiome? Gut health is huge right now. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, and the source fundamentally disagrees that the gut is the primary source of illness. The argument is that viruses and unproductive bacteria get into the bloodstream first, reside in organs like the liver or spleen. That's where illness truly begins, according to this source, before they mess up the gut significantly.
So probiotics wouldn't be the main answer from this perspective.
Exactly. The source claims probiotics can't kill pathogens hiding deep in organs. It sees the gut more as a pathway for nutrients, and it points to low stomach acid, low HCl as a really common underaddressed problem.
Caused by?
Often liver or stomach issues, the source says, made worse by protein putrefying because there isn't enough acid. This feeds bad bacteria, potentially leading to SIBO, Crohn's, colitis, things often blamed solely on the gut itself.
Okay. And intuitive eating. Just listen to your body.
The source calls that a myth. Intuitively eat. That's how I stay healthy. Nope, according to this. The argument is that justifying cravings, say for eggs because you feel a need, doesn't mean you actually understand how that food affects your health or symptoms.
So cravings aren't reliable guides.
Not according to this source. It suggests they're heavily influenced by confusing food messages, maybe past emotional stuff around food, not real biological wisdom.
Okay, now this next one challenges a lot of popular diets.
Yeah.
High fat, high protein, like paleo, keto.
Yeah, the source lumps them together, basically saying foods like eggs, nuts, seeds, oils, animal products are high in both fat and protein. And the core critique is twofold. First, it claims the body struggles to absorb fats and complex carbs like grains together efficiently.
Okay.
But more importantly, it argues high-fat diets massively burden the liver, makes it sluggish, reduces bioproduction, which you need for digestion and detox, and crucially feeds pathogens like viruses and bad bacteria.
So it directly links high-fat diets to what?
Accelerated aging, bloating, chemical and food sensitivities, joint pain, reproductive cysts, and worsening chronic illness overall.
And this leads to the claim that you can go fat-free long-term. That sounds extreme.
Well, fat-free in the sense of avoiding what it calls radical fats. So, yeah, avoiding nuts, seeds, oils, animal products, avocado, coconut, olives. The source claims the trace fats naturally present in fruits and vegetables are actually enough for the body and are absorbed much better.
Okay. What about bulking and cutting? Common in fitness.
Called a big mistake. The source argues high protein alone isn't the key for lean muscle, and more critically, these cycles of excess calories than restriction. They put huge stress on the liver, deplete vital glycogen stores, cause nutrient deficiencies, speed up aging.
And increase risks for other things.
Yeah, the source links it to increased risk of cardiovascular issues, diabetes, joint problems, kidney weakness, a weakened immune system, even autoimmune disease.
Wow. Okay, fasting. Intermittent fasting is everywhere.
Highly criticized by this source, it claims intermittent fasting isn't truly fasting in the deep cleansing sense. The body, it argues, doesn't start that process until the sun rises twice, so after 24 hours without food.
Skipping breakfast in the typical IF window.
The source says that prevents the liver's natural morning detox. Instead of clearing overnight toxins, the liver gets forced to deal with fats from last night's dinner, producing extra bile. It basically shuts down that crucial morning cleanse window.
What about longer fasts, like juice fasts?
Also critiqued if they go past 2 days. The source claims they stress the body, deprive the brain, liver, heart of needed glucose. That energized feeling people report, the source calls it a false high from constant adrenaline release.
That's bad.
Very corrosive to the nervous system, breaks down neurotransmitters, and ultimately backfires, according to the source.
Okay, the juicing versus fiber debate. Lots of people worry about losing fiber when juicing.
The source says those worries are misguided. The argument is fiber itself doesn't hold the nutrients. The nutrients are locked inside it.
So how do we get them?
Through chewing, digestion, blending, cooking, or, the source claims, most effectively through juicing. Juicing makes the nutrients more accessible, not less, in this view.
And the idea that fiber heals the gut.
The source disputes that too. It says troublemaker foods, like gluten and eggs, plus toxins, weaken intestinal nerves and feed pathogens. High-fat diets injure the liver, reduce bile, making you reliant on fiber just to move things. It also contrasts compostable juice pulp with the unseen waste from processed foods.
And it critiques specific supplements or trends, too.
Yeah, it names things like deer antler, kombucha, collagen, probiotics again, saying they can't reach organ pathogens, colostrum, neem, and apple cider vinegar gets a specific call-out.
ACV, people swear by it.
I know. But the source claims that despite being from apples, the fermentation process changes it. Makes it deeply dehydrating at a cellular level, which actually traps poisons inside rather than helping release them. And it warns broadly that many supplements contain fillers or ingredients like fish oil or whey that feed pathogens.
And why isn't this information more known, according to the source?
Well, the perspective here is pretty cynical about industry. It suggests industries profit from sickness and don't want awareness of toxins and pathogens because it threatens the money machine. Misleading info spreads online because people repeat theories without, the true understanding presented here. Blind faith in credentials can be dangerous if the underlying theories are flawed, it argues. Even the word detoxification is seen as something industries want to downplay.
Okay, so after all that critique, what's the actual solution proposed by the source?
Cleansing. That's the core. It's presented as the way to actively rid these toxins we've accumulated because the body, under the modern load, just can't do it alone.
And the goal is?
Flush out toxins and starving bugs. But, and this is emphasized, it's not about starvation or torture. The cleanses are designed to feed you, to nourish you. They're even described as offering emotional and spiritual support.
So what are the building blocks, the foundational practices?
Fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, absolutely central. The source claims they keep blood thinner, allowing better detox. They minimize oxygen, which pathogens supposedly hate, unlike fat-filled blood. They stabilize organs, replenish cells, deliver nutrients, and crucially, don't feed pathogens.
And celery juice, that's a big one in this world, right?
Huge. Described as medicinal, the most powerful medicine of our time, the source claims it has unique sodium cluster salts in hydrobioactive water.
Sodium cluster salts, what do they supposedly do?
According to the source, they bind onto toxins, draw them out, and actively destroy pathogens. Recommended daily, working up to 16-32 ounces. Timing matters.
Okay. Lemon or lime water, too.
Yep, upon waking and before bed. For deep hydration, can add raw honey, which the source claims drives medicinal properties deeper, or maple syrup.
And avoiding fat in the morning, part of a morning cleanse.
Exactly. Avoiding those radical fats, nuts, seeds, oils, animal products, avocado, etc. in the morning. The logic, according to the source, is this lets the liver finish its overnight detox. If you eat fat, the liver has to switch gears and produce bile, interrupting that cleansing process.
And ripe fruit is key.
Essential. The source explains unripe fruit has tannins to protect it. As it ripens, these tannins supposedly transform into antiviral, antibacterial compounds that help us heal. So, yellow bananas with brown spots, soft spoonable papayas. Avoid green bananas.
Okay, so those are the basics. What about the specific cleanses outlined?
Right, there are several. The anti-bug cleanse is presented as a simple start. Basically remove specific troublemaker foods, the ones claimed to feed pathogens. This starves the bugs over time. It's a foundation for other cleanses, too.
Then there's the 3.6.9 cleanse. You mentioned it was foundational.
Yeah, described as the most foundational, superiorly grounded cleanse. It's designed to work with the liver's natural cleansing cycles to speed things up. Sets the stage for deeper work.
Are there different versions?
Yes, simplified, original, and advanced. Simplified works at about 70% strength, the source says. Original and advanced require strictly avoiding radical fats so the liver produces less bile and can focus on dislodging deep toxins. Day 9 is all about fluids, flushing everything out.
Yeah.
Liver, blood, kidneys, gut.
What if you can't finish all 9 days?
The source is really reassuring about that. It says it's okay, only positive healing can occur. Any effort is good.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, you can repeat it, even do it longer term for serious issues or weight loss with a suggested transition out. The guidelines are super specific. Certain juices like cucumber apple, blended fruits like melon or papaya, specific veggies like asparagus and Brussels sprouts, salads, liver rescue soup juice, apples, dates, celery sticks, certain teas, no radical fats, no troublemaker foods, minimal salt.
And hunger. What if you're starving?
Just eat more of the allowed foods, more fruits, veggies, greens. Don't starve yourself. The source warns that leads to binging later.
Okay. There's also a heavy metal detox cleanse.
Yep, specifically targeting heavy metals. Uses 5 key ingredients: spirulina, cilantro, barley grass juice powder, Atlantic dulse, and wild blueberries, often taken as a smoothie.
Can you do that during the 3.6.9?
You can, as a modification, but
Right.
there's a specific instruction. Skip the heavy metal detox smoothie on day 9 of the 3.6.9.
Why is that?
Because day 9 is about overall flushing, and the source claims the remnants of those 5 ingredients are still working from the previous day, so you don't add more on flush day.
Got it. And the mono-eating cleanse for the gut.
Yes, called the most soothing technique for the gut. You eat only one specific food in small meals all day.
Like what?
The options given are ripe bananas, ripe papayas, steamed potatoes, or steamed peas. The claim is these foods don't feed pathogens, they restore damaged linings, starve viruses, bacteria, help restore HCl and bile.
Papaya is highlighted for refeeding.
Blended ripe papaya, specifically non-GMO marital, recommended after illness, fasting, or anorexia when someone hasn't been eating.
And potatoes again.
Steamed potatoes. Highlighted again for not feeding pathogens but binding onto bacteria, fungi, worms, and carrying them out. Directly contrasted with eggs, which supposedly feed everything bad in the gut. Peas are a backup, and the source insists mono-eating won't cause deficiencies. It provides concentrated healing compounds.
Okay, so beyond the cleanses themselves, what about supplements and mindset?
Supplements are seen as helpful, yeah. You can take them during cleanses, maybe starting with half doses, because the source claims their potency increases without troublemaker foods interfering. Considered important for underlying issues, especially viruses.
Do you need to take everything listed for a condition?
No, the advice is to start with a few key ones. Celery juice is always number 1. Then maybe B12, zinc, vitamin C, lemon balm. Then others like spirulina, curcumin, cat's claw, L-lysine might be added.
But avoid certain ingredients.
Definitely. Big warning against supplements with fish oil, whey, other things the source claims feed pathogens. And it highlights specific benefits, like for zinc.
Yeah, the source claims most people are zinc deficient, partly because heavy metals have damaged the soil's immune system, basically. Zinc feeds our immune system, makes pathogens sluggish, helps the immune system get ahead, and vitamin C.
Especially as micro C feeds the immune system too. But the source makes a stronger claim. Viruses and bacteria are highly sensitive or allergic to it. It can oxidize and injure them. It even details specific shock therapies.
Yes, zinc shock therapy and vitamin C shock therapy. Specific protocols, ingredients, doses, frequency suggested for fighting off acute things like colds, flu, UTIs, styes, cold sores, shingles, strep.
What if you feel worse on a cleanse, these healing reactions?
The source frames mild symptoms arising during cleansing as detox symptoms, calls them a positive sign of healing and release. The 3.6.9 is suggested as the gentlest for chemical sensitivities, designed to help clear them.
And if old symptoms flare up?
That means the underlying issue was still there. Or maybe you picked up a new bug. It's seen as proof the cleanse is needed to address the root cause. Taming a virus takes time, it says. What about weight changes? People might worry about losing too much or too little.
Yeah, the source explains rapid initial loss can be stool, but also fluid retention, it calls lymphedema, described as an opaque, pus-like fluid from pathogen activity. It advises not to fixate on the scale number. Weight fluctuates. The goal is balance, reaching a healthier state to build muscle later.
And if someone is worried about losing too much weight,
The source suggests maybe they already lost muscle due to the chronic illness itself. The focus should be rebuilding health first, then slowly muscle after symptoms ease.
in the emotional side, social pressure.
Big topic in the source. It acknowledges cleansing can stir up old emotions. The claim is fat cells store old adrenaline linked to past experiences, and this gets released into the bloodstream during cleansing.
Cravings for comfort food might hit hard too.
For sure, without the usual distractions. But the cleanses are designed to be nourishing to counteract that. It also mentions the social weirdness, people feeling insecure or judgmental when you try to eat differently, which might trigger their own food issues.
And it talks about avoiding food as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, another pattern. Avoiding food when in pain, leading to a fear of eating, an addiction to having no appetite, trying to exert control when feeling powerless. The source warns this leads to starvation, stresses organs until hunger eventually wins. It stresses glucose from fruit is vital, not something to fear.
How does it suggest coping?
Finding connection with others on the similar path, shared experience builds compassion. And importantly, not letting haters or people who invalidate your struggle, the not so sick, who mistake luck for superiority, undermine your conviction. The knowledge in the source is presented as a defense.
So let's bring this all back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
The real core message here from this source material, it's quite challenging.
It really is. It fundamentally pushes back against the idea that your illness is your fault or that your body is just failing you.
Instead, it offers this entirely different framework. Unseen toxins, pathogens, maybe inherited, maybe environmental, things largely outside your control as the primary drivers.
Yeah. And knowing that, or at least considering that possibility, and having these specific strategies, the cleanses, the foods, the supplements, it's presented as deeply empowering. A way to take action and let go of that self-blame.
Equipping you with true clarity, as the source puts it. Clarity may be born from suffering.
Right. And it stresses flexibility, too. Different cleanses, different levels, any progress, even small steps, is framed as positive. Only positive healing can occur following these principles, is the claim.
But it's also clear this is likely a journey, right? Not a quick fix.
Absolutely. Healing from these kinds of deep-seated issues, according to the source, takes time. Likely more than one cleanse cycle. Consistent support from the right foods, the right supplements. It's a process.
Okay, so we've covered a massive amount today. The source's take on mystery illness, its list of culprits, toxins, and pathogens, the critique of so much common health advice.
The whole philosophy and the nitty-gritty of cleansing the 3.6.9, mono-eating, heavy metal detox, the celery juice, avoiding fats in the morning, the role of specific foods and supplements.
And importantly, those emotional and social pieces that are so often part of the healing puzzle.
It's definitely a perspective that diverges sharply from the mainstream, suggesting many accepted ideas are misguided, that the real issues are unseen or misunderstood by current science. It encourages a deep skepticism of many common beliefs, advocating instead for very specific practices based on knowledge claimed to be from, well, a non-scientific source.
So considering the sheer depth and, frankly, the unusual nature of some of these claims, inherited toxins, viruses eating eggs, radiation on luggage for centuries, fasting being harmful, What does this perspective make you think about the incredibly complex world of health information out there today?
And maybe more importantly, when faced with such different viewpoints, how do you decide who and what to trust on your own unique path to healing? Something to really mull over.
Indeed. Thank you for bringing us this material, and thank you for letting us deep dive into it with you.